The goal of the show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising and marketing. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. Today, you're going to learn from one of the most articulate marketing leaders I've ever met. His name is Mike Nolan. He is the global CEO at Product of the Year Management. So a couple of weeks ago, Jack and I went to the Product of the Year award show, and it was by far one of the best industry events I've ever been to. And what is Product of the Year? Who is Mike Nolan? You're going to find all of that out in this episode. But essentially, marketing managers at major brands, and any brand really, that develop a new innovative product, well, they need to get their product out there. And their grocery aisles are just swarmed with so many competitors. How do you stand out? Well, they submit their new product to Product of the Year. And then 40,000 Americans vote on which one's the best. If they win, they get the stamp. The competitive advantage is there. So all of this is talking about this award and lessons for you all, how to articulate your ideas very clearly. Mike is an expert at that. But also, if you win an award, what are you going to do? How are you going to brand yourself? How are you going to take advantage of that? So there's some lessons there as well. Really great for brand marketing managers, great for advertising managers. Stay tuned and listen to the full thing. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me or check the links below to learn more about Product of the Year. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Mike Nolan, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time. A couple of weeks ago, we had a blast at your Product of the Year event. So I'm excited to talk with you about it. First off, how are you doing today, sir?
Well, listen, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really glad you enjoyed the event. Yeah, we had a ball. There's nothing better than Tribeca rooftop for a celebration of innovation. So yeah, we had a cracking night and it was great that you were there.
So we got to explore who you are, your role, the company, what the Product of the Year is, get into all of that. So let's start high level. What is Product of the Year, sir?
So Product of the Year exists to champion innovation. So I was working in an ad agency back in the day. I was new business director of an ad agency. I came across Product of the Year. It existed in France, only in France. And I met the guy and I took it around the rest of the world, to the English speaking world. And really it exists because we believe there's something called the tyranny of choice. When you walk into a supermarket, there are 20 new shampoos. You don't really care. You want to find one good new shampoo. The kids are screaming. You just want to get a new one. How do you find the best new product? Product of the Year is the solution to that, which really appealed to me as an ad guy. I love communications. I love simplicity. And so having this idea called Product of the Year was great. It's going to solve a problem, the tyranny of choice. But then we needed a way to really make that mechanic work. So in the US, we have over 40,000 people vote on who wins Product of the Year. And that's unique. And so it's kind of the People's Choice Award for products. And we deliberately love the less glamorous. Give me a floor cleaner and a shampoo. I'm not interested in the new cars, the new computers. These are the products that literally touch people's lives every day. Procter & Gamble have a great expression that, it's touching lives every day. Product of the Year exists to help people make those day-to-day decisions about finding new products. So that was really exciting. We came up with the 40,000 people who are going to vote on it. And, that's what Product of the Year set up to deliver. Help consumers, shoppers, find great new stuff. Help manufacturers who invest billions of dollars in producing these new products. And then also help advertisers and retailers. How do you find something new to say about your product? You want to have a great product. You've got a great brand story and so on. Product of the Year gives you that little secret sauce, that differentiation in advertising and communications terms, this is what 40,000 people thought rather than just the person. Some people might use a sporting celebrity. Some people might use a doctor. Product of the Year represents the great America across the whole country. So that was the exciting idea of it. And, we're really proud to be still trading 20 years on.
Incredible. Yeah. I mean, if I'm a brand marketing manager for like a paper towel brand or a pet food brand and I see this, it comes across my desk, I'm going to want to enter this award show. And I'm not sure if you guys give insights on the back end, if you place or you submit what people might survey and say about it too. We don't have to get into all of that, but the fact that this exists for brand marketers out there, like why not go for it and get that all that credibility from 40,000 people? I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, look, I'll just answer that straight up. Yes, we do, right? So you get research. As entering product of the year, you get a unique piece of research on your product with the people across America, delivered by Kantar Research, the world's biggest research company. So we will give you insights by demographic, by age, by region, into what do people think of your product. We'll also give you verbatims. People say, hey, I really love this because of X. Or equally, they might say they didn't like it, which, as we all know in marketing, is just as valuable as what they say that's positive when you know what people don't like, because it gives you, it can help you. So yeah, ultimately what we're talking about is a kind of sales promotion tool that's wrapped up in an award, which is wrapped around with research. So it's a kind of, I honestly believe it's unique. We do it in 35, 40 countries around the world. There are lots of other awards, right? And great. There are awards in health and beauty, which are all about health and beauty magazines and editors. And that's great because they have a unique take on health and beauty. There'll be other ads in other awards in automotive. Great.
Yep.
We are the only people. If you walk into Walmart, there'll be 3 or 4 product of the year winners on every aisle. We do feminine hygiene. We do shampoo. We do frozen food. We do floor cleaner. We do pet food. So product of the year is a kind of mass market thing compared to the tighter, and it's based on research.
It's fantastic. And then talk about the event was so fun. The celebration in Tribeca Rooftop in New York, seeing all of those brand marketers show up, and we had a great time. Jack and I showed up there. How was that? Like that talk about that culmination of the event, that celebration.
Sure.
What's that like for you? All the hard work.
When I set it up, I remember setting it up I was down in Soho in New York. I hired a wonderful lady to come over from LA, and it was just her, me. I bought her an Apple computer, and we had a couple of pens, and we sat there across the room and thought, holy smoke, how are we going to make this launch in America, the biggest market? And, the first year we had our award show in the Rainbow Rooms. And part of what we do with the award show really matters because we believe that no one else in the world comes together and celebrates innovation and innovation alone on one night. These brand managers they might get advertising awards or sales awards and so on. Every company you go to, in their name above the door, it will say innovation matters to us. We're driven by innovation. And rightly so, because these CPG manufacturers are extremely good at innovating. But what we loved about our event, right, is we bring people together and say, we don't really want to talk about your marketing tonight or your advertising. We want to talk about how well you innovated your products. And then on top of that, celebrate it. And so we deliberately bring people together. We don't have a long research presentation. That we do those, but we do those on a Monday morning in Connecticut with a cup of coffee. This is get dressed up, have a cocktail, celebrate innovation, and celebrate all the hard work. So we've also found companies around the world use it as an annual event. So they will say, we like to bring 20 brand managers from Procter & Gamble to the Product of the Year Awards. It's all paid for by Product of the Year. You can't buy a table. You have to be part of the process. You have to be in the competition. So it's part of the inclusive package. And that creates an atmosphere of excitement. Look, you were there. You took some photographs. I chatted to you on the night. It was, we're all dressed up. We've all had a cocktail. It's exciting. But there's a reason why we do it, because we think it matters. And we think that people talk about innovation a lot. And we believe we're one of the few people who actually isolate it and champion it.
It's so clear, and it makes so much sense to me. And I'm glad that you're on here talking about it. What are some of those effective ways brands leverage product of the year? I know you give out an award, right?
Sure.
At the end of the show, like who utilized the product of the year, stamp the best. But what have you seen? What do you recommend for people that win this? Because this applies to anybody. Like if you win an award personally in your career, there's some marketing things that you should be doing, PR, promotional tools. If you win an award, what do you think they should do?
Sure. Look, so this kind of goes back to more my advertising background. And I'm a sucker for great communications and great advertising. And I think, the most important thing is to keep it keep it relevant. We had a cracking winner one year when Heinz tomato ketchup turned the bottle upside down, right? It changed everything. It changed how everybody eats or serves sauces. But that advertising won it that year for us because they had a kid leaning backwards. He was upside down. The bottle was the right way up. And they incorporated the win into the communication. So having worked in advertising, you pick up a win and you've got your great product, you've got your great brand story, and you just add it on the end by saying we've won product of the year. That works, that delivers, that will get you a bit of competitive advantage, a little bit of differentiation. But if you actually embrace it and you get your creative teams to say, no, we want to make this part of the essential communication, it can completely different. We had an M&M one, salt and sweet M&Ms one, product of the year. Great ad, one of my favorite ads ever for product of the year. Animation. They actually had one M&M being tattooed by a pretzel, and they were tattooing product of the year on the back of the M&M. So the whole thing was about winning an award, but because the pretzel was tattooing the M&M, it showed the two things. It was completely integrated communication. It was genius advertising. It was a 20-second spot, and it just slayed, as my young daughter would say, everything. So if I ever have any kind of advice to marketers, look, it's really tough. Advertising and marketing is tough. Budgets are tight. Not everyone can reimagine their processes. But keep it relevant. If you can possibly not just graft on product of the year to the end, but actually make this an extra reason to believe and integrate it into the communication, which is tough, right? But the best communications, that's what we see people do.
I love it. Mike, where did you work in agency life? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I'm very, very old man, but I worked at DMB&B in the UK. Then I worked at FCB. So I worked in Interpublic for a while.
Gotcha. Yeah. DMBB. I've heard of that.
That went away about 30 years ago. So good 25. It's a good job for you for knowing that. But yeah, so then I worked for FCB, who became Draft FCB, so the general iterations, but within Interpublic.
Yeah. So how does that experience kind of help you with where you're at today? Because we talk with a lot of agency professionals today, Mike, and people that listen to the show, they want to get a job in advertising or marketing. I guess, like, what were some of those fundamental communication skills that you learned in agency life that were transferable to this?
Well, first of all, I think you've got to love what you do, right? I passionately believe that communications, is going to sound trite, can change the world. I think if you get it right, you can build a brand with good communications. I think it's really hard. You need a great team. And I think if I learned anything was you need a team you need planning, you need creative, you need account management, you need production. And if any one of those things aren't working well, it's really hard to get good communications out. And also, I think I learned that you need good clients, that you need clients who are prepared to listen and trust agencies. And to get to that stage, you've got to have delivered for them so that you've earned their trust. If you've proven to them that your advice is good and the communications you can deliver is good, and then you come to them with a really big idea, like, I don't know if you remember the Gorilla Cadbury's idea, that was a very famous ad. You've got to have a really good relationship with your client to say, here's the idea, it's going to be a gorilla playing the drums. So you need to have worked really hard as a team to put your client in a place where they trust you, and you need good clients to do that as well. Clients who embrace sensible amount of risk, but trust the creative process. So a lot of that helped me work on building teams and also understanding different disciplines within what you need to talk about. So yeah, look, I love advertising, and I think when product of the year is done well, it can incorporate everything. And now obviously the digital landscape is so much more important, and we have a lot of clients, using it. Dual action this year, used it on TikTok and all of that, and embracing that level of change, embracing the digital landscape in just the way back in my day we were all about 20-second TV spots. I still think those matter. You look at the Super Bowl. I'm the guy who wakes up in the morning and watches all the Super Bowl ads, and I love those, and they're amazing and they deliver. But not in isolation anymore. They have to be part of a platform with digital follow-up, and all of that goes together. So I think it's a really exciting time to be in communications and marketing. But hey, it's also probably never been more challenging. But I guess that's what every generation says. That the guys who were first doing TV commercials were saying, where are the big print ads in the newspaper? So
yeah. Mike, when I was at the event, I remember asking you, like, if you're a brand marketer, like, I was asking you, why don't all brand marketers submit to product of the year? It's just a no brainer. You're going to get that research. You're going to get that feedback. You're going to get exposure to 40,000 Americans in this award show. So like, what do you think is holding brand marketers back from submitting their product?
Well, the first thing, and I always tread carefully on this, right? Being a brand marketer is an extremely difficult and complex job. And
Yeah,
I'm
true
always
that.
nervous about sitting on the sidelines, saying, hey, they're in the game and I'm advising and so on. So, I'm always a little nervous about telling people who are brand marketers what to do because they do a complicated job. But I would say that one of the things that I've noticed is there is a risk reward in all business and in all communications, in my opinion. And sometimes people don't want to risk entering product of the year and doing something that's a bit unusual. They have a set way of operating. This is how the brand has operated for the last X number of years. If they do that, they won't get into trouble. If they just do that exactly as well as the last person did it and maybe a little bit better, no one's going to give them a hard time. And product of the year is something where you go, we're going to do something a bit different. I've got a great product here. I'm going to risk a little bit here. I'm going to win this award and then I'm going to leverage it. And sometimes I think people are unsure about that. Now, we've been working in product of the year 20 years in America, Procter & Gamble, Unilever, Nestle, Reckitt. But if you're an individual brand manager and you're 25 years old and you've just been given a budget, it's a difficult thing sometimes to manage that level of risk. So we try and help people see the return on investment, which is always there. But I think that is sometimes a challenge for marketeers slightly less experienced to take that step.
That's you bring up a good point. They have a very tough job, Mike, these brand marketers. So the fact that you're just communicating consistently and you're showcasing the amazing products, I think that's all you could really do. And I'm sure your team has all these different ideas, and I love seeing what you're coming up with. Real quick, I want to hover back here to, can you walk us through the product of the year selection and voting process? So 40,000 Americans are viewing the list. Like, are they getting emails? Like, how does the survey work? How do you select the people? Can you run us through that, please?
Yeah. So how it works at the moment is that it's about who enters product of the year, right? We go out and take a lot of advertising, a lot of B2B advertising in Ad Age, in various magazines and websites around the US, asking people to put forward their products. So we don't choose the products that enter product of the year. The clients put them forward. Once they get put forward, because, for example, we might not know that a product is going to be taken off the shelves. So if we selected it and it wouldn't be.
Right.
So they choose to enter product of the year. We then put them into categories. So it might be men's razors or shampoo or frozen food. And we give them to Kantar, who is the world's biggest research agency. They go off and research them with 40,000 Americans. Now, fairly obviously, if you think about it, we don't get 40,000 samples for every product and send them out, right? So it is a digital-based research project, but we also have claimed satisfaction and usage. So a statistically significant number of people have eaten that pizza and vote on it. So Kantar have to go out and find enough people who've tried these products. So we have both a kind of concept test of, is it a great idea to have chocolate that doesn't make you fat? Everyone votes that's a great innovation. But then we have some people who've tried it and go, yeah, and it still tastes good. Or it's a great idea, it doesn't make me fat, but it tastes disgusting. So we balance those two things out. And the other really significant thing is we're only interested in innovation. So I don't care about Coke. I care about Coke with guava that's been launched in the last 18 months. So all the products are new products. And by that, the definition is launched in the last 18 months.
Oh.
So it's all about the new. So you can't win product of the year twice. If you've won, that's it. That's a new product. You're done.
Got it. Why focus on the innovation? Is that like the bread and butter for you all? Can you illuminate me on that?
I think in the US last year, something like 15,000 or 20,000 new products were launched. And that is what I talked about at the top of what we were saying, is this tyranny of choice. If you like Mars bar, right, and you've got a Mars bar and you love it, that's great. And you know it's been around for 30 years, it's no big deal. If they add, I don't know, white chocolate, and It's a new idea, you're like, hey, is this good or is it bad? So we are focused on what are the new NPDs that people are bringing to the market. How do I judge if this is going to be around for 10 years and is a brilliant product, or is this just a kind of crazy idea that's not going to survive. So product of the year at its heart is all about innovation. And that means products launched in the last 18 months. So it's always the best of the new. It's not about classic, brilliant, wonderful, but old brands.
Yeah, yeah. And can we talk about some of the products that won this year?
Yeah. I mean, we had some cracking winners this year. We have goodie bags of these products, and they're all stuff you could buy in the supermarket. And yet you see chief executives who drive Ferraris home, desperately trying to get an extra bag full of towels and so on. And it's hard. It's because these are just little innovations, but they're everyday stuff that everybody wants. Look, a couple of ones that really stuck out for me. I loved Nutella Be Ready, right?
Oh,
So, because my kids absolutely love this. And Nutella, putting it on bread and stuff at home, it's great. And if you're at home, but, going to pick up your kids, and I've got three of them, and you've got a little Nutella, it's genius. It's a brilliant little idea. It's really essentially a packaging innovation, but it's a portability thing. And it's like, that's a really cool thing that genuinely has made picking up my kids from school a bit easier. I mean, honestly, Nutella's made my life a bit easier. So when that wins product of the year, my 9-year-old was like, can we get lots of products? So that was a really cool product. And it felt simple. Like we had a Compost Genie winner, which was a really cool thing about, making sure that you're more environmentally friendly, and that when you're throwing things away, that you do it in a more sustainable way. So those kind of things are great. So, there's lots of different ways to look at innovation, and we get very excited about it.
yeah, absolutely. And that goodie bag showcasing all those products, like you said, got us all so excited. And like somebody that's a CEO or CMO, they're going to get excited about these products too. So you're onto something. Mike, I just got to know, our listeners, they want to get a first job. Maybe they want to succeed in advertising or marketing. Knowing this stuff, you are a pro just from talking with you, seeing what you put on. Everybody can take my word. You know what you're doing. You've talked to all these brand marketers. What advice do you have for people just starting off in this advertising or marketing industry? How do you be successful for the long term like yourself?
The first one is, it's tricky, right? I think you've got to be persistent. I didn't get a job in an agency to start with. I had to do a couple of other jobs, and I applied to a couple of agencies. So I think the first thing is not to look at people who have succeeded and think that it was a cakewalk for them. Like, you don't tend to go back and talk about your failures. You tend to beat your chest about how wonderful you are now. But actually, everybody starts from the same sort of thing. So I think persistence is a key goal. And remember that pretty much everybody who ended up being successful was told no, or failed, or got fired. I certainly was told no. I got fired twice, and it ended up kind of okay-ish for me. So being persistent. I think probably a universal thing I would say is always do more than you're asked. So it's a pretty simple thing. But if someone asks you to do a task, do it, and then do something extra as well. No one's ever going to tell you that it was a bad idea to do more than they asked you to do. And that will just show that you're doing the thing which is going beyond what everybody else can do. There are a lot of people with talent. There are a lot of people who've done the reading, who've got the degrees, and they've got the qualifications. The one thing you don't have to inherit is doing more than the guy beside you or the girl beside you. Just do a little bit more than they've ever asked. And everybody will respond to that. So, when you go to an interview, and I talked to a few people about this, make sure you know about the company. And I know it's a kind of dumb thing to say. Make sure you know what they do. Make sure you know about their 3 best clients. Make sure you've seen 2 of their ads. If you can, find out the ad that the guy or girl or woman who's interviewing you made, and say, I like that. And they'll go, wow, okay, well, that's more than most people do. And if you're doing a little bit more, you're more likely to engage them. And so, when people are talking to me, you don't want to be sycophantic and know about the person. I don't want them to know about me. I want them to know about the company and go, hey, I saw that you did this. If, hey, Nutella Be Ready entered and I saw it there. Okay, they know what I'm talking about. So be persistent, do more than you're expected to do, I think are 2 really good places to start.
Yeah. It's hard. I don't know. That to me makes sense. And, I hope everybody listening really, hears this and applies it, because I've done interviews with folks on the job search side when I'm at an agency, and they don't show much excitement around that company. So lock in, listen to Mike here. Thank you so much for coming on the show, talking about product of the year. It's everybody. I love it. My favorite event I've been to. I'm looking forward to the next one, and we will definitely be in touch, and let us know when the applications are open. We'll help spread the news for you all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to this episode with Mike Nolan, Global CEO of Product of the Year. I told you he's one of the most articulate people in the business. He's Electric Factory. Now you've got a better understanding of what Product of the Year is all about and why it matters. Check out this year's winners at productoftheyearusa.com. You'll find standout products like Brawny, 3-ply paper towels, Bic Easy Load, and the pink stuff, that miracle cleaning paste. We use it. Jack bakes a mess. We have to use it all the time. It's fantastic. If you have any questions or you want to learn more, reach out to me directly. I'm happy to help you navigate it all. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next episode.